Joining us in the studio from Ministry of Skin in Torquay, Dr. Caroline. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Great to be here.
Thanks for coming in. It's a very important week for skin awareness, Skin Cancer Action Week, isn't it?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, so we're really trying to get everybody on board because the whole point of the Action Week is to try and get everybody to understand their skin and start to prevent skin cancers and detect them early.
And that's the thing too, we were just discussing off air, that it's one of those things that you think, oh yeah, I'll do that when I need to, but then all of a sudden years get away from you, and you really have to stay on top of this because it can save your life, can't it?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's always on someone's to-do list, and it gets lower and lower every year. It's easily put off, but at the same time it's really simple, easy to do, and it can, definitely save your life.
Okay, and so there are people with different kind of risk factors, aren't there? So I'm quite fair, whereas Loggy is quite European.
Yeah, but I'm a white wog, so I've got the wog inside me, but my skin's pretty fair.
You are relatively fair.
I know. So, yeah, I guess the difference between you and I, Tom, because Tom's got blue eyes as well, sort of blonde hair, undertones, whereas I'm quite dark. There would be a difference in our skin, wouldn't there?
Yeah. So you're right, you can take my job now, actually. I'll have the day off. Yeah, definitely. So, there's really clear risk factors that have been identified. So definitely having a paler skin, fair hair, red hair, blue eyes, or green eyes is definitely, it gives you a higher risk factor of getting skin cancer. Sure. And it all comes down to your ability to burn, really. So the highest risk factor is getting burnt. So, of course, fair skin, blue eyes, you've just got a higher risk of being burnt, whereas someone like yourself, you're probably going to tan a bit easily and not burn as much. So even though tanning is dangerous, we do still see that as a bit of a risk factor because the tan is still a sign of you having had some sun damage, which is what we do want to avoid, but the burning is definitely the number one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what about if you are particularly dark skinned, so you've got African or Aboriginal heritage or something like that? That doesn't mean that you're immune, does it?
No, so it's risks. Definitely having a darker skin reduces your risk of skin cancer, but it doesn't eliminate it. It then comes down again to a little bit of genetics as well. So genetics can play a factor if you've got a family history of melanoma, and then your own individual sun exposure. Sure. So if you've got dark skin and you have been in the sun, you work, say you're a tradie and you work in the sun 12 hours a day, you're still going to have a higher risk of getting skin cancer.
Okay.
Yeah. Are we seeing a lot more skin cancers now because people are looking more for it, or obviously because the ozone layer and how the Earth's changing, skin cancers are more common?
Yeah, there's been a little bit of a rise recently in skin cancer, but we're not quite sure whether it's because of there's better early detection out there now, or whether it is simply because of environmental factors. But there's also a belief that there's a bit of a slowdown in it because of the education now around sun protection, that the rates are slowing down. Which is good. Yeah, which is great. But the problem is the majority of the damage is done when you're younger. So it's your UV exposure up until about the age of 18 that's really important. Okay. Yeah, and that's the thing that has the impact on you getting skin cancers later. So I see a lot of people at work and they're like, oh, I'm really great now. I never go in the sun and I never sunbathe and I put sun protection on all the time, and they're in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and for me that doesn't matter. I want to know what happened in their first, say, 20 years of life, because that's the bit that's going to have the impact later. Yeah.
So a lot of people that are maybe our parents' age, that are that boomer kind of generation, they are the ones that are getting bits of their nose cut out and that kind of thing, because they grew up basically oiling themselves up and then holding mirrors under their chins.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, when you talk to them, they've all got their stories of putting oil on the hot tin roofs. And, just playing out in the beach all day or running around their farms all day and no protection, and it was just normal part of life to get burnt. Yeah. So that's why we're seeing that generation with a lot of skin cancer. So hopefully with the education coming through now, the rates will just consistently start to decrease. But one of the problems is that it's more teenagers at the moment. There's still that belief that a tan makes you look better. But it's not a belief. I think there's a natural element to it. We all want to be in the sun, don't we? It's a natural. We have a natural drawing to it, and we all do feel more prettier or more attractive when you've got a tan. So we have that natural drawing to the sun, and that's particularly amongst teenagers. So the biggest thing is educating them as well that that the tan isn't good for their skin.
Yeah.
Not only for skin cancer, but it actually increases premature aging later in life as well. So that's what I normally say to teenagers.
Yeah, well,
they don't understand the skin cancer, but I'm like, you're going to look old by the time you're 30.
Exactly. You're not going to be able to filter this out.
Yeah.
And and you know, it's so right too, because I used to go to the solarium when I was younger, which was the worst thing, and I'm so glad that they are they're gone now and everything. So
your life's over.
Plus, oh god, plus the fake tans now are so good. So there's so many things on the market, but what we really got you in here for was to give Tom a bit of a once over as well.
Yeah,
So
what I've done is because I've had a spray tan before, and I understand what you need to wear. So I've got a little paper G-string underneath here that I'm just going to
plan for this.
No, I'm joking. I'm not joking. But we will take a bit of a break and come back, and if you don't mind doing it, just to show you people how easy it is, how painless it is, and of course it is very, very important. We're joined in the studio by the guys from Ministry of Skin, Dr. Caroline and Kylie as well. This is Piece of Your Heart, Medusa. It's 13 minutes past 8, Carrot 955, Skin Cancer Action Week.
Medusa, piece of your heart. It's Tom and Loggy this morning. Yes, I'm panelling because, Tom, you have your shirt off, and as part of the Skin Cancer Action Week, we have Dr. Caroline in from the Ministry of Skin, who is about to do a skin check on you.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't usually feel weird getting my rig out, but I feel a bit uncomfortable at the moment.
You shouldn't. You are sucking in a little bit, but that's fine. We all do that.
I think it's because you put extra lights on in the studio.
Yeah, we put all the lights on in the studio. Now, look, you do have some tattoos as well, which obviously cover some of your skin. And Dr. Caroline, do you find that people with tattoos, you have to look extra deep to make sure that there's nothing there under their tattoos or anything?
Yeah, definitely. It's actually when Tom took his top off there, I was like, well, that's quite good, he's got tattoos. Because I can mention that. Yeah, tattoos, it's melanomas can still arise under a tattoo.
Okay.
Because obviously two things happen. Either you got the sun exposure before you got the tattoo, so that can bring the skin cancer out later, or skin cancer can still develop there, and there's a risk that it hides and people don't notice it as much. So they are an area to check, especially colourful ones as well, because the colourful ones can take your eye off specific spots. Yeah, so
okay, cool.
Important.
The other thing my wife said to say is make sure you check my head, because I am bald, and it's a place that you, I guess, wouldn't necessarily think about getting checked.
Yeah, well, on one side, the good thing about being bald is that you can see the skin.
True.
So actually on yourself, if you're going to get a skin cancer on the top of your head, you can visually see it, or your wife might see it. Whereas you can get skin cancers on the head with people with hair, but it can hide. So, in the parting of girls or different areas, and people don't see it. So on one side with the bald head, you've got higher risk of UV sun exposure now, so maybe a higher risk of skin cancer in those areas than, say, you'd have if you've got hair, but actually identifying it, you're going to be in a better state.
Ah, good. Yeah. Okay. I'm glad I'm
growing old now.
Growing old gracefully, should we get started? It's, where do you want to start, head or back?
So I'll just start with the arm. It's probably a bit easier.
Yeah. And so you've got like a massive sort of... Well, it's a... What would you call that?
So this is called... What I'm using is something called a dermoscope. So what this does is a little bit like a microscope. It enables me to see the moles much clearer. So normal moles have a really nice pattern, like a grid pattern, almost as if you've got a fishing net that you've laid down on the floor. So as soon as I look at a normal mole, I can see this beautiful kind of fishing net. We call it a reticular pattern that enables me to say that's normal. Only takes a couple of seconds, as you can see, to kind of touch it. I don't know, is it cold?
No, it's not too bad.
I think cold things are supposed to mean I'm a doctor, isn't it?
Yes it is. It's
cold. Exactly.
And Tom hasn't really got many moles, which is good. So that's...
good on you, Tom.
Yeah, that can be a risk factor too. So someone who has got more than, say, 50 moles on an arm can increase their risk of getting a melanoma. So the fact you've got lower number of moles is really good.
Now, when we talk about moles, because on my skin, I've got a lot of beauty spots, what I call them.
Beauty spots.
Yeah, beauty spots. And so they're like a large freckle. And so is that classed as something that's, can be a bit more of a risk factor? Because I'm looking at you now, Tom, and your skin is pristine.
Oh, thanks, mate.
It's beautiful. So I kind of feel like, having freckly sort of skin, does that put me at more risk?
So not necessarily the freckles. So it's normally more than, say, 50 moles on an arm can increase your risk of getting the skin cancer.
Yeah.
And generally about 70% of melanomas are actually something new. So I tell people, if you think of the name, we don't call it a mole cancer, we call it a skin cancer. So
Okay.
majority of melanomas grow on the skin. So we're actually looking for something new. And then the next thing we're looking for is something changing.
Okay.
So something growing in size is the next thing. So if you think of like a breast cancer or bowel cancer, you don't just get a little pea come up and it kills you. That breast cancer gets bigger. So it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And as it gets bigger, it feels worse, it's craggier, it looks worse.
Yeah.
So something new, something growing. And that growth is really asymmetrical. So if you imagine folding it in half, the colour wouldn't match, the shape wouldn't match. It's a bit like a child has drawn the mould. You know, they've
Okay.
drawn it crooked, they've coloured it in with a few different brown pencils, rather than a beautiful, nice, round, symmetrical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you noticed any of those things on your body, Tom?
No.
No.
Can I ask though, is it, if something is changing, so if a mole has changed and you've noticed that, is that automatically bad news?
No. So they're what we, they're like our suspicious factors.
Okay.
So there are normal things that do the same. So as you get older, you can get other different lesions on the body. For example, one is called a seborrheic keratosis. They typically do everything we ask you to look for. So they can be new, they can grow, they can bleed, they can itch, they can come off, they can grow back again, but they're normal.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we don't want to miss the melanomas. So anything with those suspicious features, we say just get checked. I'd rather you come in with something and I say that is totally normal,
Yeah.
skip off out my doors, rather than you kind of sit at home and go, oh, maybe it's a normal thing being kind of changing.
Yeah.
It's better anything abnormal or you think is abnormal to get it checked.
Okay.
So that.
Well, we might continue the check off air, Tom, and then we'll come back and wrap things up for this National Week.
Okay.
Alrighty.
5, it's Memories, 28 past 8 on K-Rock 955. Tom and Loggy, it is a National Skin Cancer Action Week. And so we thought we'd get Dr. Caroline from the Ministry of Skin here in Torquay to join us in the studio and show everyone how easy it is to get your skin checked, which I just did.
Yeah, and completely painless.
Yes, yeah. Well, I mean, no, I didn't. I kind of warmed up to the whole getting around with no shirt on thing. And then
You look
realised,
good.
the check had stopped and I was still half nude.
Yeah,
So.
but that's okay.
So Dr. Caroline, thank you for coming in. Thank you for checking me. How did I go?
Yeah, fine. Really good, actually. So nothing I saw that was a worry.
Great.
You actually didn't really have many moles, which is good. As I said earlier, that lowers your risk factors. And it also means that if anything does come up that's new or changing, it should be really obvious to you. So
Yeah.
that's good news.
Cool. Well, I was particularly impressed at how easy it was, how painless it was, and again, how quick it is as well. So, I mean, there's no real reason for people to be putting it off.
Yeah, no, not at all. It's really easy, really quick. I think sometimes it's the anxiety. Like most things, people are a little bit worried at what might be found. So that sometimes can put people off. And that's the same with a lot of cancer screening. And, I always say that it's more worrying to have not picked something up than to get it picked up early. So you're better to kind of try and put that anxiety aside and get something checked because you're going to be much happier that way.
Yeah, definitely.
And even if you're, if you've heard us today and you're looking down, maybe when you're taking a shower or whatever tonight, just have a bit of a look through your own skin or get someone to check your back or whatever. And if you see something, well, ministryofskin.com.au is where we can get all of your details. So organise a little checkup.
When in doubt, check it out.
That would be great. Yeah, that would be fantastic to see everyone.
You can use that one, Dr. Caroline.
Yeah, that's it. I'll hold
He
it.
made it
I'll
up
patent it.
All right, awesome. We're going to grab news, but thank you again for coming in. Really
Yeah,
appreciate
thank you
it.
very much for having us.